The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
How are you, sir?
This is Pierre.
Oh.
I can't believe I'm talking to you, Dr. Ray the Great.
Well, I don't know about that.
I love listening to you. You have a personality just like my father.
I don't think you should feel helpless. You are helpless.
Doctor, I really appreciate that. That makes me feel a lot better.
You be at peace, or else I'm going to yell at you.
Trying to find a reason to speak to you. I think you're the best thing since sliced bread.
That Ray, he's something.
Thank you so much for what you're doing for all the parents out there.
I don't know what I can possibly do.
I don't either.
I'm getting my money worth, I think, at this phone call.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
There's no way I can hide it. I walk around looking like this out-of-state tourist staring at these mountains. And they got little white hats on the top of them, which I don't understand what that is. But I'm looking around, and I just realized, I remember when I was in the 8th grade and we studied the Rocky Mountains, all I remember from that is they're big. And this is true. I'm in Idaho. I am in Boise. Notice how I pronounce that? Boise. Makes me sound pretty cool, like a local, because Boise is how everybody else outside of Boise pronounces it. And interestingly enough, I just figured the whole city decided to go against the agreed-upon rules of grammar. That's all. They just more or less said that. Anyway, I am at Salt and Light Radio Network. They got 10 signals blanketing Idaho, some of Montana. This is fantastic to be here. I got Tom with me. He's the engineer. I got Brian over here on my left side. So this is pretty good. Now, why am I here? The network brought us out. They are sponsoring us to do the TV show, Living Right with Dr. Ray. We are filming tonight. So those of you listening in the Salt and Light area, and by the way, I was a little nervous about coming to Salt and Light. My doctor told me, cut back on your salt. He's cut back on your salt. And even now that I'm here, I might feel my blood pressure going up a little bit. Anyway, we're doing the taping of the TV show, Living Right with Dr. Ray, the EWTN TV show. We need an audience. Now, we've got some folks coming, but the more the better. So if you're listening to this and you would like to come tonight, tomorrow night, the tapings are at 5 and 7, both nights, and Our Lady of the Rosary Catholic Church. Now, up to this point, we've had people sign up. You went to the Salt and Light Radio website, you signed up, you can just come in now. That's it. We're just taking people off the street. Just come on in. We need the numbers to build it up, so we would love to have you. You can come to one show, you can come to two. Get a couple of you homeschooling families with 27 kids. You can basically suck up half the chairs in the audience. All right? Now, one other problem here. Apparently, there's some kind of movement. Now, people here in Boise don't realize this, but it's happening on the East Coast. That's usually where it happens, East or West Coast. Some people are upset about the name of this city. It is linguistically insensitive. Now, think about it. Boise. No. What about all the girls? Don't they feel left out? I think there's a movement to name it Kidsey. That's just that's what I've heard. I don't know if it's legit, but that's what I've heard. So, who am I? I'm a shrink. Psychologist. What kind? Clinical. The kind that deal with assessment, therapy, and my degree is also in research. And that's why when people get really upset at me, because I look at some of these COVID statistics and they just don't hang together and people get upset. But any researcher 101 is going to have some questions about some of these things. Anyway, the number to get onto the program is 877-573-7825. 877-57-equal. Why would you want to get onto the program? That's up to you. I have no idea why. But the number one reason is that people have a question, a circumstance, a situation, a conundrum about something in their lives that's perplexing them, bothering them, hurting them, flummoxing them. I have no thesaurus in front of me. And they want to know maybe another thought, another idea. I can't do therapy here. I can't diagnose, and I will not step on the turf of any other therapist. However, we can give you some ideas, maybe some direction, something you hadn't thought of, little ripple effect. You know what the ripple effect is? The ripple effect is when you make one small change in your life, it ripples out and brings about big changes. So hopefully we can do that for you. Kid, family, marriage, mood, struggles, generic questions about the faith. Some people call in because they want to help somebody else. I was reading in Purgatory Today that they said that if you call in and you help somebody else out, that's 4 days off the purgatory. I can take 7 days off your purgatory because I can be so irritating to listen to. So, 877-573-7825. 877-57 equal is the number. Now, we are on Mountain Time here, so it's 11 o'clock. Normally, I do the show Eastern Time, 1 o'clock. So I'm a little confused because right now I'm saying things 2 hours before I normally say them. So if I say anything really dumb, you're not going to hear it for another couple hours, as far as I know. 877-57 equal is the number. You know what young parents do besides splashing their kid all over Facebook because he burped? You know, there's a picture of my kid burping. And everybody gets a thumbs up because you have to do a thumbs up. I mean, that's kind of nice. That's Facebook etiquette. You do a thumbs up. Here's my kid eating a pizza. Look, he's got cheese on his tongue. And there's a thumbs up. Well, I have noticed that parents like to use their little kids to do answering machines. When the kid gets old enough to have some semblance of language, but is totally incomprehensible to any other human being on earth, they put him on their voicemail. Now? Hello? Thou? Is your mommy there? Huh? Your mommy. Your mommy's there. Mommy's there. Yeah, mommy's there. Mommy's there. Mommy. Can you get your mother, please? Hi. No. Just. Can you go and say, hey, Mom? Now, tell your mom she's won $1 million. Just tell her she's won $1 million on a call-in show. This is Ray calling. I need to talk to your mom. Can you get your mom? Just yell mommy. Just yell mommy. Now, look, kid, I'll give you $5, okay? Just go get your mom. And then you hear the mom in the background. Who is it, honey? Honey, who is it? Now, she's not going to come to the phone. Why? Because she doesn't want to take a chance on dinging up this kid's self-image to make him feel like he's not able to answer the phone. He's not. He can't. He's 1.5. He doesn't talk. But that's okay because they use him to answer the phone. Now, do you realize some of you big families with 6, 7, 8 kids, you've had a whole bunch of 1.5-year-olds. Have you been doing this for years to people who call your house? Have you? This is cruel. This is really, really cruel. I cannot tell you how many times I've said, I'll call back later, hoping I'm going to get a real human being. People complain about phone trees. Have you noticed that? Dial 17 if you want to talk to a human being. Dial 18 if you'd like to talk to a human being over 35. Dial 19 if you'd like to talk to a female human being who just had her nails done last week. Those are nothing compared to a little kid answering the phone. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to get my little grandchildren. And I am going to make a recording of them when telemarketers call. That'll do it. When they're calling, trying to get me to change my car warranty, or that Nigerian prince who always calls. By the way, did you notice that? They have discovered, I guess, some kind of $2 billion stash from some Nigerian prince who died. Yeah, they found it. I don't know, because he's contacted me multiple times. I just never answered him. But I'm going to do that. Now, I can promise you, if you call this program, you'll get me. You'll get a real live human. I won't say, dial 1 or 2 if you have a potty training problem. Dial number 1 or number 2 for a potty training problem. Gambling problem? 7 or 11. So, 877-573-7825. 7825 is the number to call to get onto the program. I would love to talk to you. Give me a call here in Boise.
All the advice, none of the bills. Come in. The doctor is in.
Do you own popular index mutual funds or ETFs? If so, you're automatically own shares of companies that conflict with your moral beliefs. Ave Maria mutual funds are managed to conform to pro-life and pro-family values. Long-term investors can invest in the no-load Ave Maria mutual funds. The experienced professional portfolio managers make decisions based on investment fundamentals and pro-life values. You can learn more about Ave Maria mutual funds today at 866-AVE-MARIA or visit AveMariaFunds.com.
Christianity never saw itself as the fulfillment of a political process or a military process. Christianity was always bearing witness to a kingdom ultimately not of this world. The church teaches in Catechism of the Catholic Church that the kingdom of God lies ahead of us. It is brought near in the Word incarnate. It is proclaimed throughout the whole gospel, and it has come in Christ's death and resurrection. The kingdom of God has been coming since the Last Supper, and in the Eucharist, it is in our midst. The kingdom will come in glory when Christ hands it over to his Father. What this tells us is that we are working for a kingdom. For us, the kingdom of heaven is synonymous with the kingdom of God. His kingdom is to be established by virtue of our union with him.
Cresta in the afternoon with Al Cresta. 4 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
We need EWTN Radio for the reason that Mother Angelica founded this entire enterprise. She always saw this as a spiritual growth network. It was to be an enterprise in media that reached people in all aspects of their life. She saw this as a holistic approach to reaching the whole person in the middle of the world and bringing them truth and life.
Raymond Arroyo thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
I give you my word, my pledge, I will not sound like a little kid when you call here. However, I may not offer any more wisdom than a 1.5-year-old, but I can tell you you'll be able to at least understand me. I won't be going, oh, yeah, hi. Now, there are a number of wonderful questions up there, and I want to take them. I'm here in, again, as I mentioned, Boise, Idaho. Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it, when I say that? Boise. Because all they've done is change the grammatical rules of the whole United States for their city. Anyway, so let's go to Aaron. Aaron, who is in the same situation as my daughter and my son, and actually my other son, who works for the DOD, Department of Defense. That's like cool talk. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dr. Ray. A pleasure speaking with you.
Are you a first time through, or are you thinking of making this a career?
Well, I've got 21 years in already.
Whoa! All right, so you are a career.
Yeah.
You can walk away.
I could walk away. That's a scary thought at this point. I was planning on getting 22. Starting a new career is intimidating. I have a big family. I have 10 children. You know, I've got to make sure I'm doing a financially responsible thing to take care of them. So,
is it official? The military has said flat out, take it or go.
They have not said take it or go. They said take it or face disciplinary action. They haven't said what the disciplinary action is, and of course that could vary between the services.
Can you find out?
I think the only way I would find out would be as if, in the Navy we call it something like, we call it captain's mast. I would have to basically disobey the lawful order long enough that they finally take disciplinary action. They could do something called a disciplinary review board, DRB, or they could do a captain's mast, which is encompasses something called non-judicial punishment. So, they could do all kinds of things. My mind wonders what they would do. Would they administratively separate me over something like this? Would they take away my pay for 3 months? Would they
tell you?
Would they demote me?
Would they tell you? Would they say,
That's
okay,
a great question.
here's the point, Aaron. You take this vaccine, or here's what we're going to do. Would they do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, because I don't know who's going to call the shots, who's going to make the decision on what the disciplinary action is. They've alluded to things like, we will make it so that you can't get promoted. We'll make it so you can't re-enlist. And I'm okay with all that because I'm not getting promoted before I retire. I'm certainly, I don't need to re-enlist. I just need to make it, my contract right now is up in approximately 1 year. So.
All right. Well, let's look at our options here. I give you the good news and the bad news. CDC website, and I'm gonna say to the people who have quote unquote corrected me in the past, you are wrong. You go to the CDC website and they list the percentages and the kinds of adverse reactions to the vaccine. Now, the adverse reactions are over 2 million. Now, fortunately, the good news is most of those are transitory and mild. However, rather sadly, there have been 14,000 reported deaths. The debate on that is, well, was that directly attributable to the vaccine, or what's in it, or is it something else? So that's how you keep debating that. Now, the good news is this. By and large, you have a very, very good chance of not having at least a immediately bad reaction. Now, the debate, of course, is what's going to happen in the long term.
Right.
Obviously, we can't know that. Can't know that at all. You got to make a decision, and you decide to yourself, all right, the odds of me as a healthy young man having a bad reaction to this virus or this vaccine, and again, don't correct me. I know it's not a vaccine in the traditional sense, people. I understand that, but I'm just using the word as a summary label. The odds of a bad reaction to it are still very, very small. Look at the statistics, very, very small. So I had the vaccine. I had to have it because I couldn't go to the prisons and I couldn't go to the nursing homes. Flat out, they told me, you can't come in here. All right. So I did. I had it. I had no adverse reaction. I was tired for a couple of hours afterwards, and that was about it. Pretty much everybody I know that has had the vaccine has had no at least immediate ill effects. So you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to weigh this. I would rather finish out my career uneventfully and have my choices, and I will then take the shot or shots as it becomes mandatory. My son's a sergeant. He took it. My daughter's a major. She took it. My other son has diabetes. He works for the DOD. He hasn't yet because they haven't really come down with it, but he's told me recently, he said, Dad, I guess I'll have to keep my job. Now, unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work its way through the court system. It will be declared. I got to believe it will be declared totally unconstitutional. There's no question.
It seems that way.
Yeah, I can't.
Some of the research indicates to me that it's, the DOD has gone through this before with other vaccines, like the anthrax vaccine that they mandated at one point, but then backpedaled on that and made it not non-mandatory. But and you mentioned statistically low occurrences of bad reactions, but there's statistically low occurrences of severe illness in my age group as well. My demographic is relatively young and relatively healthy in the military.
Yes.
So there are low risks either way. One of the things I'm particularly nervous about is the swelling of the heart, the myocarditis.
That is fortunately still very, very, very low risk.
Yeah,
fortunately,
but it is actually more prevalent in young, healthy males.
Yes, that's true.
Other demographic.
And the question, the debate is it transitory? Is it permanent? Is it damaging? That seems to be the debate. Obviously, stuff coming out of the CDC and other places indicates, okay, well, for the most part, it's transitory. I think, my friend, you're stuck. You're going to have to make the decision. If you say to yourself, I don't want it, it's not going to happen, okay, then you will take whatever the military gives you at that point. On the other hand, if you say, well, given the risk profile of this vaccine, given my age, my health, I don't need it. However, unfortunately, by the time it gets declared unconstitutional, hopefully it will, I will have been forced to make the choice. So that's what you're facing. And it's tragic. It's sad. It's incomprehensible to me on something like this, although the debate seems to be you get the vaccine because it'll lower the symptom profile, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not even talking, of course, about immunity, natural immunity. They've just avoided that topic rather religiously.
Yeah.
So that's where you're.
They say it mitigates the symptoms, but
right.
Most people don't get severe illness anyway, so it does it really. So
right.
And it certainly doesn't prevent the illness.
Right. I know, and all of this is coming to light.
Standing up for this, I want to think that there's some altruism in my motive here, and thinking that there's been other things that the military mandated or disallowed in the past, and now we let all kinds of things happen because there was a change and there were people who stood up for some things. And I would like to be a part of standing up for or making a change. Maybe the mandates for vaccines aren't necessary. Maybe there can be a choice, because I'm at this point, I'm not deploying. I'm not on a Navy ship. I'm not on a submarine. So if I had a choice, it seems prudent to not get vaccinated, because I'm not in the demographic I'm not in that working group that is in close proximity.
Sure.
On a ship.
Well, all your points are well taken, Aaron. All your points are well taken, but the bottom line is, so what? I mean, you're just in a situation where they're saying, so what? You're not going to get exempt because of this kind of reasoning, because we're mandating a one-size-fits-all for everybody.
That's right. They are.
Yeah. So they forced you.
And in my basic training in the Navy, one thing we talk about is heritage versus just doing things just because we did them or just because we say to do them. That's been inculcated into me. That's bad leadership. But now we're saying, do it because I say so.
Because I said so. Yeah.
That's essentially what they're saying. This is
Aaron, I got to run. I thank you for the call, though,
absolutely.
because I got somebody who wants to chastise and challenge me here, and I will take that. I'm looking at the clock and trying to decide if I got enough time before the break. Only got 2 minutes. All right, here's the deal. Anybody who disagrees with me or challenges me, go straight to the front of the line. Let me summarize this call. I said supposedly the other day that the virus was over. I never said any such thing, but that's somebody's quoting me as that. Then she or he says, how come every hospital is full in Boise where you are right now? I am upset that you think COVID is not to be worried about anymore. I never said any such thing. I respect you, but I think your comments are irresponsible. That's assuming they're my comments and assuming you heard them correctly. Okay, let's go to the call. Sir or ma'am, I don't know. It's anonymous. Hello.
Oh, that would be me.
All righty. Well, I did not say the virus is over. I never said any such thing.
Okay, well, I do not want to put words in your mouth, but I have been so upset since last Thursday, so maybe you could help me and reframe it. What did you say? Because you were talking to somebody in Seattle. She did not want to get the vaccine. I don't want to really talk about the vaccine, but she was being ridiculed by her family for not getting the vaccine, and I could have sworn you said something along the lines, the sick, we're on the down end of this.
We are, if you're talking about the original variant, we are. The original variant is pretty much gone. The Delta variant is what has caused the bulk of the upsurge. Okay?
Well, so I was so upset. I'll be really honest, because I really respect you. I think you're an incredibly intelligent person. I listen to you all the time, but I was kind of really upset. And then I talked to a family member who lives in Nampa, Idaho, about 20 miles from where you are right now. I don't know exactly where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But she works at St. Luke's in Nampa, Idaho, and every single bed is full.
Okay.
Every single bed is full.
All right, hold on. I will answer that in my respectful way, my dear. Hold on. Don't go away. And for those of you on the other lines, thank you for your patience. Looks like some of them dropped already because they didn't want to wait. All right, this is Dr. A, 877-573-7825. shows from people who respect me but disagree with me. I think that's fair. Very fair. Okay, we did some exploration. I have a young lady on the phone. Are you still there, ma'am?
Yeah, I can't believe you called me young, but I appreciate that.
Oh, you're just a
I'm just
pup
sitting here
compared to
just
me.
crying. I mean, I'm just sitting here just crying. We're in a mess, I think.
All right, hold
We're
on.
in a
Now
mess.
you just created a. My spidey senses as a psychologist just went up. Okay, hold on. Let me put a context to this. I checked with Andrew, my producer man. You heard a rerun. That show was aired originally back in June. So there is no way I would have said this virus is over. That's totally irresponsible. Okay, secondly, I have always said, let me finish up here. I've always said, I'm not trivializing it. This is a virus that is especially dangerous for those older. Okay, never trivialized it. Thirdly, my contention has always been the response to the virus. What have we done in terms of taking people's freedom of choice and closing down religious facilities, in the government coming in with a heavy hand? All of that. Those are all legitimate, debatable points that people of goodwill can talk about. Now, to answer your question about your friend who said their beds are full, several things. ICU units are essentially constructed to operate at close to full capacity. That's how they are to operate. That's one. Two, if we start talking about various places, yes, you're right. There are places that are overwhelmed, and mostly from the Delta variant. Okay, two. Three, fortunately, the odds are still very low for people under 50 or 60 to have serious complications or even death. That's, thank God. Okay, this is not Ebola. All right, so this is a virus that is dangerous, the most dangerous one we've had for quite a while. But fortunately, I've had it. My wife has had it. Pretty much everybody I know has had it. I'm sitting here with my engineer. He's had it. Okay, so that said, now you said you cried, which tells me that this has really scared you. This has really. You're getting this relentless drumbeat of it's all around you, you're in danger, the people you love are in danger, it's awful, it's terrible, it's horrible, and anybody who goes outside of that narrative really has to pull it back. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. I'm fully vaccinated. I have had COVID, but I also know that it wasn't my friend, it was my sister-in-law, and she's exhausted. She works at St. Luke's in Nampa, and it's not just the ICU. She said every single possible bed is full of COVID patients. 95% of them are COVID patients. So I will apologize that what I heard on Thursday was an older show, but I'm exhausted.
Well, what you say, my daughter's an emergency room nurse, and she tells me that, Dad, we get a lot of people coming in with COVID. Most of them we send back home. Because in fact they're scared, they're nervous, they come in, I've got these symptoms, I need to be tested, is this COVID, I'm threatened. So what you say is true, but there's another complication here, and it's happening countrywide. Our physicians, our nurses, our health people are exhausted. They are totally overloaded, and one of the reasons is because the staffing shortages. The staffing shortages are massive.
Well,
my daughter says that they're operating. She said, Tom, she can barely hear me. I'm going to take care of that. My daughter says that they are operating many times, way below their staffing levels. They're exhausted.
Yes.
And nurses are quitting.
Yes.
Because they just can't keep up the pace. And so one question is this all due to COVID? Or in fact, is this happening because of other reasons also? Too loud? Okay. We're still tinkering with the equipment over here, Boise. So thank you, dear, for the call. And what you say, I have heard from many. So you are certainly not a lone voice. And I think this bespeaks of how easy it is to misunderstand or take out of context what somebody says because of the fear factor. Because of all around us, we're threatened like we've never been threatened before, which is Let me give you an interesting statistic. This will just kind of share with you something in terms of quote-unquote balance. More children, now when I say children, it's under 18. More children have been shot, killed in Chicago in the last year than have died from COVID in the last year and a half in the whole country. So, I know people are thinking, oh my gosh, it's terrible, it's awful, it's scary for children. Well, at this point, unfortunately, there are a lot of things that are killing children, much, much more so than COVID. At least, thank God, anyway. Thank you for the call, dear. Very, very fair. I appreciate it. All right, let's go to, where are we at here? Louise. Louise, somebody's slandering her, apparently. Louise, welcome to the club. I get slandered all the time. How are you?
I don't think I used that word slander, but anyway.
You use propaganda.
Oh, okay. I keep trying to cure my addiction to your show, Dr. A. I'm just
that
not.
No, that is not an addiction that needs cured.
Okay.
You are healthy.
Okay,
it is a healthy addiction.
Okay. Well, I'm extremely healthy then, because this is my thing. I was thinking, what motivated me to call is, I can list a lot of reasons why I chose, not to receive the experimental shot, and I respect those who made a different decision. But all around me, the message, from many church leaders, that I'm committing a terrible sin of omission. I'm a risk to society and the common good, despite my naturally acquired antibodies, which I have proof of, on a blood test. So, it's just getting so wearying. And I'm sure you're sick of it, talking about it too. But despite, my efforts to try to limit news, it's always on the front page of the local paper. It's over the loudspeaker at the grocery store. Get the shot, get the shot.
That sounds like it's 1984, doesn't it? Sounds like it's something out of 1984.
I open a Pittsburgh Symphony brochure and I think, oh, I'd really like to go see that concert. Oh, whoops, you got to have the vaccine to do that,
Yep.
No, I hate to even complain like that, because of, I'm listening to Aaron, my heart breaks for him, and I've got a son in the same position where he's got natural immunity, but he's being threatened with his PhD research being pulled because he won't get the vaccine because he works with a federal contractor. Anyway, long story short, all this propaganda and stuff, I just wanted your take on, I've heard the term, I've heard the term psychological operation, and propaganda. What is our best defense against that? Because obviously the other side thinks I'm the one that's been duped.
My best defense is that I just don't let it affect me. I look at it and I recognize it as a tragic happening at almost every level in our culture, psychologically, physically, socially, emotionally. I see that. Stay there. I want to talk a little more about this, and then we got calls up there, too, that I want to get to. 877-57-EQUAL, that's the number. Talk to you. Okay, before I go back to Louise, which she's experiencing something that I'm just getting by the tsunami of folks. But I'll get back to that in a second. I am in Boise, Idaho, and I do want to put another push plug in for the TV show tonight. We are taping here in Boise, Our Lady of the Rosary Catholic Church, 5 and 7 o'clock. So if you're listening in the Salt and Light area, please come in. We'd love to have you in the audience. The more the audience, the better. We're being brought in by Salt and Light. We're in cooperation with them. So delighted to be here. Now, back to, let me come more. 5 and 7 o'clock both nights. Tonight, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. You can come in if you wish. You don't have to sign up at this point. We've got people signed up, audience members coming in, but more is better. So you want to come, bring your dog. You got a goldfish, that counts. We'll give them a separate seat. Stuffed animals, fill up some of the seats with stuffed animals, as long as it just looks like there's bodies out there. That's a big thing. All right. Talking to Louise. Hi, Louise. You still there?
Hi, I'm here.
Dear, I get so many people coming to me with the exact same constellation of hurts and frustrations that you're bringing up, which is you are now the new enemy. You are now the person that is evil and awful and terrible. If you look at the data and the statistics from all directions and decide for yourself, just like Aaron did, which is, I've had COVID. There is research all over the place that says natural antibodies are better than the vaccine. There's studies come out of Israel that says this. But for whatever the reason, the vaccine has just become the sine qua non of being a good person. Whether you can debate the effectiveness or not, the question is, it isn't overwhelming in its data. There's controversy on both sides, and if you look at the whole picture, at least someone could nod and say, I respect that you have looked at the data and this is the conclusion you've come to. However, that's not allowed. That's not allowed. So what I do...
You can't question that narrative.
You can't question. You can't even raise questions, which in fact is the very core of science. If you're going to believe science, you raise questions. I read an interesting thing the other day. Newton's laws have dominated physics forever. Well, isn't it interesting that there are new theoretical speculations that could turn some of Newton's laws on their head? Talk about settled science not being settled anymore. So, all that said, what I do is I just simply work hard not to let all this get to me. I live my life. I am ever more grateful that I know Jesus and his church, and this going on around me makes me even more grateful that the Lord has allowed me to know him through no goodness of my own. I happened to be born where I was, to the family that I was, and for whatever the reason, he allowed me to have my eyes open to him. And given the nonsense that's going around so much for so many people, I just rest in the fact that that's been a gift to me that I didn't deserve. Maybe that'll help you too.
That keeps me grounded, and I just didn't know if there was any other psychological technique or something to mentally resist this.
There is. Don't let it get to you. That's the psychological technique. Just simply say, this is stuff I'm not going to dwell on.
Right.
I'm not. I refuse. I refuse.
Yes.
All
well, I just my heart goes out to the people who are at risk of losing their livelihood, like Aaron and others.
Okay. Thank you, dear. By the way,
Thank you.
You're welcome. The calls are coming in. They do, and there's some good calls up there, and I feel neglectful. But we just got a call from a pediatric care doctor who has a different perspective on the vaccination for kids. It is where am I? Matt from San Antonio. Hi, Dr. Matt. How are you?
Hey, Dr. A. How you doing?
Help me out on this. I certainly want to hear that perspective.
Yeah, so I am a pediatric critical care doctor, so I take care of, so I see the kids, that get the COVID, who require ICU care. So again, it's not, like you're saying, I think as most of the world knows, this is primarily an adult disease. The adults, especially those with comorbidities, are the ones who, are overloading the hospitals. But that said, we are definitely seeing children with COVID, at times, certainly the peak of it down here, maybe 30% of, our ICU were children with COVID. So, and that's not just, it's acute COVID as well as something called multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which is something you see about 6 weeks after the disease. So, it's definitely not something to be neglected. I don't know of, again, this is my experience here, but it also is supported by the data. I've, never seen, one child affected by the immunization in the ICU, or just in the ward as well. But I've definitely seen children, extremely sick from COVID as well as MIS-C, as well as needing, heart-lung bypass for that. So
Matt, what you're saying is, help me out here. Help me out. So, is it safe to say that the Delta variant is a little more threatening to kids?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So last year I saw maybe just a couple maybe under 5 in terms of children that were affected in that first wave. And now we are seeing, we're over the peak here in Texas. The numbers are starting to go down, but at one point it was about a third of our ICU. So our numbers were full. Even in Texas, they had to send children out who needed a procedure, a relatively routine procedure, out of the state because there was no beds available. So thankfully we're over that hump, but it was pretty bad.
Do the kids recover?
For the most part, they do, yeah. So thankfully they do. But it's certainly a burden of, in terms of the care that's required at these hospitals. It's certainly affecting the care that we're able to deliver.
Do you think that the vaccine for kids, let's say 12 and over, is warranted?
Yes. And I have no hesitation giving it to my own children. I have 4 children. And I would have no hesitation doing it. Like, you will hear some of the rare reports of something called myocarditis and inflammation of the heart because of it. I have seen many cases of myocarditis, many cases of decreased cardiac function from acute COVID. I don't know of anybody around here that's seen that rare side effect from the vaccine. The people I've talked to that have seen it, it's really just been handled as an outpatient basis, just with something like Motrin, and it's just been a couple days of chest pain, and those have been pretty rare reports.
Okay, so your thought is, as somebody on the front lines, your thought is that the vaccine, like many of the vaccines that the kids take, is something that is protective for them.
Yes. And again, this is also just to, from a practical standpoint, and just think of my own kids, I just don't want them to be out of school for a couple of weeks with acute COVID. And I don't want them to be, part of that smaller percentage. It's not a huge percentage, but it's a not insignificant percentage that have some longer COVID type symptoms in terms of, the fatigue and, some of the mental fog that just will impair their ability to learn in school. So, those are just some of the practical reasons. Again, it's fairly unlikely that they would require to be hospitalized. I see this at kids, but from a pragmatic standpoint, I just want my kids to stay in school and to learn and to, have the least amount of days home, because then it's a pain in the butt for me to take care of them.
Help me understand this. There are those physicians, and some of them are pretty high-level virologists, who have come out and said that one of the dangers of a widespread vaccination in the face of a virus, an ongoing virus, forces mutations as the virus attempts to struggle to get around the original wave. And because of that, we're getting this Delta thing. Is there, in your opinion, is there some substance to that?
Again, I'm a critical care physician. I'm not a virologist, but I've looked at that concern. Those voices are in a small minority. The majority of experts in the field feel the opposite. That it's when COVID is widespread. Every time somebody gets an acute infection, that's when the virus has the ability to mutate. So it's when you have loads and loads of just people unvaccinated, with COVID, that's the problem of the chances of there being mutations. I will say what is the good point is, the question is just like your previous caller said, of I had COVID, I have natural immunity. And so, I think that's a good question, and we're still trying to figure out the answers to that. What we've seen, it's not, I think that was true with the first wave. But it's been shown that those who've had COVID infection, they do not have good protection against the Delta variant. And so it's still yet to be decided whether, could they just get a booster and that's enough? Do they truly need the vaccine? And I know people, are very concerned about their individual rights and don't want to be, have to take it. But that said, the side effects of it are marginal. The potential, the upside of it is that they're getting great protection. So there really is no downside in getting it. Yes, they may already have good protection from some natural immunity, but again, if that was from an early infection, not Delta, they likely don't have good protection against Delta.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. This is all stuff I
Thank you for
put into my hopper to ponder all this. Thank you so much. This is Dr. A. I'll be back. Somebody like Matt does help me because he gives me a perspective right at the ground level, right in the front lines where he's experiencing these kinds of things, and it's something to put in the hopper. Of course, it's Again, you're dealing with anecdotal type evidence and perspective, but still, anecdotal evidence doesn't always mean it's faulty. So that stuff, I put that into the hopper to think of it, and about the best I can say is that there are probably people of goodwill on both sides, and if they're mistaken, for the most part, I think they're mistaken out of goodwill. That said, all right, I want to go to just a little different one here. Tammy from Iowa is calling with probably a situation I see about 50% of the time when somebody comes to my office with an out-of-control kid. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Dr. Ray. How are you?
Well, nothing gaining on me.
So I had a girlfriend's weekend this weekend with some friends I haven't seen for a while. One of them has 3 adopted children, and a 9-year-old son and 2 8-year-old twins. All 3 have the same mom and dad. The twins don't have any repercussions from drug use because the mom was pregnant with them while she was trying to get the son back. So underwent regular drug tests. But with the son, who is the issue, may have been exposed to drugs in vitro. But long story short, she said she can't control him. He hits her. He swears at her, horrible things. I have no idea where this kid got this language. But as we were discussing it, another friend who is a lobbyist for a hospital system saying, it's mental health. You need help. You need to send him somewhere. She's been in her ear with this for a while about the mental health aspect of it. And as I was asking her questions, just trying to get a full idea of the situation, she said, no, it doesn't happen at school. Nope, doesn't happen with grandpa. She's single. She adopted them as a single mom. So there's no father figure in the house regularly, but grandma and grandpa just live a couple blocks away. But, only does this for her and grandma. Does not do this type of behavior for anyone else, but it fits throwing things for hours until she gives in to what he wants. And she's starting to worry that he might hurt his sisters. So
she needs some
illness. Does it pick and choose? Like, are you able to really pick and choose that much?
Yes and no. And that sounds like a psychologist. In the sense that if he's been heavy drug and alcohol exposed, there's a good chance that he's going to be tougher to raise. Okay. So therefore, he will push upon those people that he can most easily push upon or that he can exhaust. For whatever the reason, at age 8, he hasn't yet got the idea in his head that I can go after grandpa or I can go after the people at school. Not yet. May happen. Okay. I see it a lot. By the time he's 13, he's pushing on everybody. However, it sounds like she needs a lot of help in dealing with him because he has defeated her. He now has the image of I can do what I want with you to the extent that I want, to the violence that I want, to the edge that I want, and you can't do anything about it. And obviously he knows that. So I'm going to shortchange you here. Get her my book, Discipline That Lasts a Lifetime. It's the one thing I think that'll help put her back in charge. It's on my website. I hate to push my stuff, but it's going to give her a lot more than you or I could give her in this short period of time. And the clock has cut me off. The clock is brutal. I'm Dr. Ray from Boise. Join me tonight for the TV show.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit dra.com.